In a $15 million mansion where silence cost more than most people's homes, Marcus Thompson watched his son disappear a little more each day. Tyler hadn't spoken since his mother died. Not one word in 2 years of the most expensive therapy money could buy. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. He'd built algorithms that predicted human behavior for Fortune 500 companies. Yet he couldn't decode why his 7-year-old son rocked endlessly in the corner of a therapy room that cost more than luxury cars. Every Stanford specialist promised breakthroughs that never came. Sarah's cancer had taken 18 months to kill her, but Tyler's silence had started the day she drew her last breath. The boy who once filled their Palo Alto home with laughter now spent hours tracing invisible patterns in the air, his fingers moving to rhythms only he could hear. 20 miles east in Oakland, Alex Johnson folded his last paycheck from another family who decided a gay man couldn't be trusted around their children. The envelope contained 2 weeks' severance and a letter citing concerns about appropriate male influences, the same concerns that had cost him his teaching career at Oakland Elementary. David would have laughed at the bitter irony. Alex's late partner had always said that the people who needed the most patience received the least understanding. 3 years since the drunk driver had stolen David's life. Alex still heard that gentle wisdom in moments when prejudice threatened to break his spirit. Marcus opened the front door expecting another middle-aged woman with cleaning supplies. Instead, he found a lean man in his early 30s, carrying himself with quiet confidence. Alex Johnson extended a firm handshake and made direct eye contact without the servile deference Marcus had grown to expect. The neighborhood noticed immediately. Atherton wives peered through designer curtains as Alex parked his decade-old Honda beside Marcus's Tesla. Whispered phone calls traveled faster than gossip. The widowed tech executive was making questionable choices about household staff. Tyler's first reaction surprised everyone. The boy who hid behind furniture when therapists arrived simply watched Alex move through their home without attempting to escape. No sudden movements, no demands for eye contact, no forced cheerfulness designed to penetrate autism like a battering ram. Marcus monitored their interactions with analytical precision. Tyler's body language remained tense but not defensive. After 6 months of expensive specialists failing to achieve basic tolerance, this man had managed non-aggressive coexistence in 30 minutes. The difference in their approaches became apparent immediately. Marcus's therapy room showcased Silicon Valley's faith in technological solutions. $50,000 sensory equipment, lined walls painted in colors some consultant had declared optimal for autistic children. Alex studied the room with professional assessment, suggesting they dim the harsh LED lights. Marcus bristled, reminding Alex that Stanford experts had designed this space using evidence-based research protocols. Their class differences crystallized in that moment. Marcus had purchased expertise while Alex had earned understanding through years of supporting neurodivergent students in underfunded public schools. Tyler gravitated toward the room's single window, where natural light filtered through automatic blinds. Alex noticed what expensive consultants had missed. Tyler wasn't seeking stimulation from therapeutic equipment. He was finding refuge from it. Sometimes our greatest challenges teach us that connection can't be purchased with privilege or manufactured through professional intervention. The most profound healing often begins when we stop trying to change someone and start learning to understand them exactly as they are. If this story resonates with your experiences of feeling misunderstood, subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales of unlikely connections that prove love transcends every boundary society builds between us. Alex's teaching instincts kicked in the moment he witnessed Tyler's first meltdown in his presence. Instead of attempting to redirect or calm the boy, Alex simply sat on the floor nearby and waited. No soothing words, no physical intervention, no desperate attempts to restore order that Marcus had learned to expect from every professional. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Marcus approached Tyler's autism like a problem requiring solutions, data points to analyze, metrics to improve. His Stanford-educated mind sought measurable outcomes from expensive interventions. Alex saw a child whose sensory world operated on different principles, someone who needed acceptance rather than modification. Their philosophical clash emerged during Tyler's daily therapy session. Marcus had invested heavily in equipment designed to provide controlled sensory input according to research-backed protocols. Tyler had never willingly engaged with any of it. Alex suggested turning off the LED panels that bathed the room in clinical brightness. Marcus bristled at the recommendation, reminding Alex that Stanford specialists had designed this environment using evidence-based research. The unspoken subtext hung between them. Marcus had paid for expertise while Alex possessed only intuition earned through years in underfunded public schools. But Tyler's response to dimmed lighting spoke louder than any credentialed opinion. His shoulders relaxed for the first time since entering the therapy room. The repetitive hand movements that typically accelerated under stress slowed to a gentler rhythm. Changes so subtle that monitoring equipment might miss them, but unmistakable to anyone who'd learned to read nonverbal communication. The breakthrough came during Alex's second week, almost by accident. While cleaning the kitchen, Alex turned on the faucet to rinse vegetables. The sound of running water created a gentle rhythm that seemed to pulse through the house. From the dining room, Tyler's movements synchronized with the water's flow. Marcus emerged from his home office to investigate the unusual quiet. Tyler sat motionless except for his hands, which moved with purposeful grace rather than agitated styming. Alex turned off the water. Tyler's movements stopped. The water resumed. The patterns returned. A conversation without words, conducted in a language Tyler had been trying to teach them for years. That afternoon, Alex suggested they visit the pool. Marcus hesitated, his mind cataloging liability concerns and safety protocols. Tyler hadn't shown interest in swimming since Sarah's death, but something in Alex's quiet confidence convinced Marcus to agree. The infinity pool stretched towards San Francisco Bay, its surface reflecting afternoon clouds. Tyler approached the water's edge with more curiosity than he'd shown toward anything in months. Alex knelt beside the pool, trailing his fingers through the warm water. Small ripples spread outward, catching sunlight. Tyler lowered himself carefully to the pool's edge, then slowly extended his own hand toward the surface. The moment his skin touched water, his entire body seemed to exhale tension Marcus hadn't realized the boy had been carrying. Not excitement exactly, but recognition, relief. Alex's teaching background revealed itself in moments like these. He understood that Tyler's autism didn't need correction, but accommodation. The boy's sensory-seeking behaviors weren't problems to eliminate, but communication attempts to acknowledge. While Marcus had been trying to teach Tyler to function in a neurotypical world, Alex was learning to understand Tyler's neurological reality. Tyler's progress under Alex's patient guidance challenged everything Marcus thought he knew about his son's limitations. The boy who'd been described as severely limited began responding to Alex's presence with sustained eye contact. His meltdowns decreased in frequency and intensity. Most remarkably, he started seeking out Alex's company rather than hiding when adults appeared. The most profound learning often happens when we abandon our preconceptions about intelligence and communication. Children who can't speak aren't necessarily silent, and solutions that can't be purchased often prove more valuable than expertise that comes with impressive price tags. Tyler's unusual behavior that Tuesday morning carried urgency Alex had never witnessed before. The boy who typically moved through routines with predictable patterns suddenly grabbed Alex's hand and pulled him toward Marcus's home office with determined insistence. Tyler stopped before the mahogany desk, pointing repeatedly at a drawer that had never drawn anyone's attention. Alex hesitated at the boundary between professional responsibility and Tyler's obvious distress. The boys' nonverbal communication had grown sophisticated during their weeks together, and this felt different, important. The brass key lay carelessly in an unlocked drawer above, as if Marcus had never expected anyone to look. Inside the secured compartment, thick medical folders bore Tyler's name alongside dates spanning years. Alex's hands trembled as he opened the first file, his teaching background helping him navigate clinical terminology that felt deliberately obscured. What he discovered made his stomach clench with familiar horror: behavioral suppression protocol, pharmaceutical compliance studies, sedation schedules designed for optimal management rather than therapeutic benefit. These weren't treatment plans intended to help Tyler communicate or develop skills. They were containment strategies designed to make him easier to control, quieter to manage. Dr. Rebecca Steinberg's research notes revealed the systematic nature of their deception. Insurance companies paid premium rates for intensive autism intervention, but the actual services provided focused on chemical suppression rather than skill building. Families like Marcus's, desperate and trusting, became unwitting participants in studies that prioritize pharmaceutical profits over children's potential. Alex recognized several medication names from his teaching days, drugs that had been inappropriately prescribed to students whose behavioral challenges stemmed from educational failures rather than neurological problems. Tyler wasn't receiving treatment. He was being chemically restrained to mask symptoms of approaches that ignored his actual needs. Marcus found Alex in the kitchen that evening, documents spread across the granite countertop like evidence of a crime hiding in plain sight. Alex's expression carried the particular devastation of someone who discovered institutional betrayal masquerading as professional expertise. The revelations shattered Marcus's worldview more completely than Sarah's death had managed. Grief was comprehensible, a natural response to life's cruelties. But this represented systematic deception by people he trusted with his son's welfare. Dr. Steinberg's credentials, Stanford's reputation, the entire institutional framework had been exploiting Tyler's vulnerability. Alex shared his own history with medical and educational institutions that prioritized compliance over understanding. His partner David had struggled with depression after losing his teaching position to homophobic administrators. The same pharmaceutical companies profiting from Tyler's oversedation had funded research that pathologized LGBTQ educators as inappropriate influences. Tyler's perspective emerged through details that Marcus was finally learning to interpret correctly. The boy's hypersensitivity to Dr. Steinberg's office lighting, his physical recoil during medical appointments, his increasing agitation before therapy sessions. Tyler had been trying to communicate his distress for years, but adults had misinterpreted his responses as symptoms requiring medication. The weight of Marcus's unintentional complicity pressed against his chest like physical pain. Every expensive consultation, every carefully researched intervention, every decision motivated by love had somehow enabled Tyler's suffering while making Marcus feel heroically devoted. Their collaboration deepened as they prepared evidence that would challenge institutions neither had previously questioned. Marcus learned about workplace discrimination that made Alex's employment precarious despite his qualifications. Alex learned about social pressures that made Marcus's parenting choices subject to scrutiny from people who'd never faced similar challenges. Tyler's own voice began emerging as his pharmaceutical fog lifted under Alex's careful supervision. Not spoken words, but purposeful gestures, sustained emotional expressions, and communication attempts that had been chemically suppressed. His water fascination revealed itself as sophisticated sensory regulation, rather than meaningless stimming. The most dangerous lies are often told by the people we're taught to trust without question. When institutions profit from pathologizing difference, vulnerable children become commodities rather than individuals deserving respect and appropriate support. Jennifer Walsh's San Francisco law office overlooked the same bay waters that had brought Tyler his first moments of peace. The lesbian attorney studied their compiled evidence with focused intensity of someone who'd spent her career fighting institutional discrimination. As the mother of an autistic teenager herself, she recognized systematic abuse hiding behind Dr. Steinberg's clinical language. The legal challenges would be formidable. Stanford Medical Center possessed resources that could bury smaller opponents in procedural delays and character assassination campaigns. Dr. Steinberg's defenders would exploit every available prejudice to discredit their challenge. Marcus's wealth made him vulnerable to accusations of entitled privilege at attacking respected institutions. Alex's sexuality provided ammunition for homophobic narratives about inappropriate male influences. Other families emerged cautiously from shadows, sharing similar stories of children oversedated into compliance, while parents paid premium prices for fake therapy. But as media attention intensified, many withdrew their support. Anonymous threatening phone calls in the middle of the night, insurance coverage mysteriously canceled, employment terminations for vague performance issues that materialized only after families joined the lawsuit. The homophobic backlash exceeded even Jennifer's experience expectations. Tyler's school board received complaints from concerned parents about his exposure to inappropriate male role models who might confuse his already challenged development. Child Protective Services launched an investigation triggered by anonymous reports questioning Marcus's judgment and household staffing decisions. Religious groups organized protests outside Marcus's mansion, carrying signs about protecting innocent children from the gay agenda infiltrating vulnerable families. Alex received death threats delivered to his Oakland apartment, messages promising that perverts who preyed on disabled children would face justice. Marcus arranged private security, but Alex refused protection that might make him appear guilty. Marcus's tech community abandoned him with swift efficiency of algorithms identifying bad investments. Board meetings included subtle suggestions about stepping back from company leadership while legal troubles resolved. Major investors expressed concerns about associating their brands with scandals involving children. Regardless of underlying facts, Alex's former teaching colleagues distanced themselves with practiced caution of professionals who'd witnessed careers destroyed by association with controversial figures. The education establishment protected itself through collective silence, afraid that supporting Alex might invite scrutiny of their own complicity in similar institutional abuses. Tyler regressed under constant disruption of legal proceedings that turned their home into a battlefield. Court depositions interrupted pool therapy sessions. Strangers invaded their private spaces to document evidence. The boys' communication progress stalled as anxiety overwhelmed the fragile trust Alex had helped him rebuild. Alex introduced an augmentative communication device that allowed Tyler to type messages instead of struggling with spoken words that pharmaceutical suppression had made difficult. The boy's first digital sentence appeared during a stressful deposition. "Alex, stay. Papa scared. I not broken." The words cut through legal complexity to center Tyler's voice in decisions about his own life. Dr. Steinberg's countersuit painted Marcus as an obsessed widower who developed paranoid delusions about medical professionals after his wife's death. Her psychiatric expert testified that Marcus's grief had created psychological instability. Alex was characterized as a manipulative opportunist who'd exploited Marcus's emotional vulnerability for financial gain. Their relationship evolved under pressure that neither man had expected to navigate together. Crisis forced emotional intimacy that transcended their original employer-employee dynamic. Late-night strategy sessions became conversations about loss, identity, and courage required to challenge systems that punish people for protecting children. The stakes escalated when Child Protective Services recommended temporary custody placement, pending resolution of concerns about Tyler's home environment. Sarah's conservative parents suddenly petitioned for custody consideration based on Marcus's association with individuals whose lifestyle choices created inappropriate influences. Sometimes the battles that matter most are the ones that force us to risk everything we thought provided our security. When institutions profit from exploiting vulnerability, individual silence enables collective harm that extends far beyond our own families. The San Francisco Superior Court overflowed with families who'd found courage through Marcus and Alex's willingness to challenge institutional authority. Media attention had transformed their personal battle into a national conversation about medical exploitation of vulnerable children. Tyler sat between his two father figures, his augmentative communication device ready to speak truths that years of pharmaceutical suppression had silenced. Marcus's testimony stripped away Silicon Valley polish to reveal raw parental vulnerability. He described trusting institutional authority because his privilege had always made systems work in his favor. Alex's testimony demolished stereotypes about domestic workers as passive employees without professional insight. Speaking about his teaching background and recognition of pharmaceutical abuse patterns, Tyler's surprise appearance at the witness stand transformed theoretical arguments into immediate human reality. His typed words appeared on screens throughout the courtroom. "Both papas love me." "Doctor made words stuck." "Tyler home with family." The simple sentences exposed years of medical gaslighting with devastating clarity that no expert testimony could match. The jury's verdict reflected complex truths about institutional accountability. Dr. Steinberg lost her medical license for conducting unauthorized pharmaceutical research on vulnerable children. Stanford Medical Center faced federal oversight requiring systematic changes in autism treatment protocols. The monetary settlement disappointed advocates hoping for punitive damages that would prevent future abuses more effectively. Marcus's decision to sell his technology company surprised everyone except Alex, who'd watched him discover that wealth without purpose felt increasingly meaningless. The Tyler's Voice Foundation operated on principles learned through their legal battle, challenging systematic barriers affecting entire communities rather than providing expensive interventions for individual families. Alex returned to education through a master's program in special education, specializing in autism advocacy. His relationship with Miguel Santos, Tyler's new teacher at an integrated learning center, developed from professional collaboration into personal partnership. Both men understood that healing happens in community rather than isolation. Their new home in Marin County featured a therapeutic pool, but rejected the institutional aesthetics of Marcus's previous mansion. The smaller space emphasized connection over display, accessibility over luxury. Alex maintained his own apartment nearby while remaining central to Tyler's daily life as their chosen family transcended traditional employment relationships. Tyler's continued growth showcased abilities that medical experts had dismissed as impossible during his years of pharmaceutical suppression. His swimming achievements in adaptive aquatics programs, his communication fluency through assistive technology, and his friendships with other autistic children created belonging that transcended therapeutic goals entirely. The relationship between Marcus and Alex challenged social expectations about male friendship, class differences, and family formation. Not romantic partners, but deeper than conventional friendship. They'd become co-parents united by shared commitment to Tyler's welfare and mutual respect earned through crisis. Tyler's elementary school graduation featured both men as proud parents. Legal documents having established Alex's rights despite lacking biological connection. The boy's typed valedictorian message appeared on screen. "My family is perfect because they choose me every day. Family is not about same, but about love." Christmas morning found Tyler swimming independently while Marcus and Alex watched from poolside chairs, their conversation flowing easily between practical concerns about Tyler's future and deeper reflections on their unexpected journey. The boy surfaced and signed love to both men simultaneously, his face radiant with unconditional acceptance. Their story proved that the strongest families are built through choice rather than biology, commitment rather than convenience. Tyler's voice had emerged through relationships that honored his humanity instead of trying to fix his differences. Sometimes our greatest challenges become doorways to connections we never imagined possible. What unexpected relationships have taught you the most about resilience and unconditional acceptance in your own life? Share your story and subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales of families formed through courage, compassion, and the radical decision to see each other's full humanity beyond society's narrow definitions of normal.